everybody, welcome to the Liberal podcast with me, Ross Clark, and today as my guest I have Gerry Ward from the Fire and Peace Recovery Group. Gerry, how are you, mate?
How you doing, Ross? Great to see you again, brother. I'm good, mate. All good to go, and thanks for the opportunity to get the message across of what Fire and Peace is, what our ethos is, what our vision is, and the kind of state of affairs at the moment, mate.
Yep, and talking about the state of affairs at the moment, obviously restrictions are starting to ease with COVID and stuff. That must be massive for you, being able to get the groups going again and that. What's it been like during lockdown and restrictions for Gerry? What have you been getting up to?
Okay, I'm blessed where I live, Ross, so I can still go out and walk for walks and things like that, and I've got my family. What was the worst with frustration, Ross, is the only way I can put it. Pure frustration about people I knew who were on their own. People struggling with addiction before lockdown. People, who were just at dire straits, living themselves. Temptations there every day, and then lockdown came. You just knew it was going to happen. So people were record clean time. People who were doing great mentally, who were not necessarily addicts, were all of a sudden locked in their house and built up areas, relapsing left, right and centre. We lost somebody through overdose, beautiful young girl, Liv, nicknamed the Rainbow, because that's what she was to everybody that met her. She used to come on Fire and Peace trips. So pure frustration, Ross. It was sad, beyond sad, to watch what was going on, but as you say, restrictions are easing off, thank God. Our trips have been running, I've been doing my best to keep it going because of people being locked up. Let's face it, that's what it was. And some people are genuinely terrified of this COVID outbreak. So you've got to respect that people are genuinely terrified of this. But we're making a breakthrough, and the Fire and Peace trips have been kicking off now. We ran quite a few last year, and it's my intention to run at least one a month this year. I'm aiming for 2 a month, and also planning our first 2-nighter this year. So good to go, mate. Knock it out of the park.
Brilliant. So I suppose we better speak a wee bit about Fire and Peace to start us off, Gerry. So what was the vision when you started Fire and Peace?
The name Fire and Peace, Ross, has actually been going about for a long time. It started with I just love outdoors. My whole life I've been an outdoor fanatic, mate, and it all comes from my fascination with fantasy, Lord of the Rings, Dungeons and Dragons. I was brought up in the city. I couldn't get that I couldn't get the forest life there, so every opportunity I got, I'd go off. And then my family moved to a kind of more rural area.
Yep.
Getting back to the forest again, being a fantasy geek. Basically, I'm still a fantasy geek. It's my escapism, and the whole Fire and Peace sort of name, sort of encapsulates what the whole ethos is. With the fire comes peace, and the name actually, I'm a photographer as well, so I started a small business, Fire and Peace Photography. That's where it came from, Fire and Peace Photography at first. But then I always wanted to get the camping involved in it as well, because going away doing photography work, landscape work, your best times are first thing in the morning, last thing at night. So you're better just going camping to catch first light in the morning and then last light at night. And the two just kind of started to merge. And then as time moved on, the Fire and Peace wild camping trips kind of kicked off, mainly trying to help people, because I've been through my own mental health challenges, Ross, and that's how it kind of kicked off, to be honest with you, was what I was going through myself, challenges, dealing with past trauma that I hadn't acknowledged for decades, having to really face up to it and deal with it. And I started going back to Mother Nature as part of my therapy. We both said we both needed more than CA and AA, the support organisations, which are wonderful, miraculous organisations, but I needed more than that, so getting back to Mother Nature, backpack on, away I went on my own, middle of nowhere, get the forest, get my wee camp set up in the forest. Anxiety was gone in a flash. It was like a switch. Anxiety gone, no fear gone. Depression could kind of sort of linger a wee bit, you know, why am I sitting here in my cell kind of thing. But then get my fire going, sitting with that hypnotic state of the fire, getting right into the subconscious mindset, pushing all the fear back, the ego mindset's getting pushed back, and you don't have to try this, work at this stuff. It just happens naturally. That's the beauty of it. And then you're just sitting there, mate, so relaxed. You know, you're really feeling your connection starting with the fire. There's no sound apart from the wind. You know, the fire cracking and popping, and that starts connecting with your mind so strongly. You can't stop it. That's the great beauty of it. It just happens. And then I was like, the next day I got up and feel totally charged spiritually. My spiritual cup was full. And I would literally, as I was getting closer and closer to back to the square world, as I call it, because we're born into this beautiful circular planet. Life's a cycle, everything's circular, everything's smooth and curvy, and they force you into a square as soon as you're born, a wee square caught, and that square follows you through your whole life, ultimately until you end up back in a box, 6 foot under. You've got to break free of that box. You've got to break free. You've got to get back to the circular world, because that's where we don't belong in all this. We've been forced into it. You know, you take a round peg and you try and put it in a square hole, it'll no fit. But see, if you hit it hard enough and keep hitting it, well, eventually it'll go in, but it's never going to be a good fit. And that's what I think has happened to us over generations. Try to take us away from where we truly belong into this square world, mate. And it's not healthy. You know, if you're in a circle, you can keep on moving round. At least you can keep going round in circles, right? But it's better than being in a box and you walk into a corner and you can't move. You're trapped in that corner. But the trick is to keep on moving, mate. Just keep moving. One step front of the other.
I absolutely love that. And I remember the first time you told me that on the first time I came on a trip with you, Gerry. And I want to just point out something you said there about me and yourself maybe finding the anonymous fellowships. No, this is a podcast aimed at helping people find recovery, find support groups, and it's all right. It's all right that me and you went to anonymous fellowships and didn't quite find everything we needed to recover there. So it's just for anybody watching or listening who's maybe tried the anonymous fellowships or doesn't think that works for them. There's other ways to get well out there. Don't get me wrong, as you say, those fellowships saved my life. I'm sure you would agree they saved your life, because they got me that sobriety to get myself in order. But I definitely must say that I found the fire and peace and the power and the connection and all the stuff that happened there equally as important to get my mental health straight, because addiction was covering up the fact that my mental health was shot to pieces. As you say, there's a natural remedy out there, and it's connecting with nature. So you start Fire and Peace Wild Camping, and what made it grow? Because obviously it's growing. I've been on trips. What was the biggest challenges towards getting Fire and Peace to where it is today?
So obviously, this is your podcast, Ross, and you've got all I call it skin in the game. I call it, mate. And when you've got all your skin in the game in this, and what I mean by that is if you're say if let's say you're working in Asda, sorry to come up with this, see you're working in Asda and you're working behind the cash checkouts, right? Your skin in the game isn't going to be 100%, because what's the worst that can happen, right? You overcharge somebody, right? It's not really a big deal. But if you're an airline pilot and you're flying 350 people, you need to have 100% skin in the game, because you make a mistake, you could kill 350 people. So you've got all your skin in the game with the Other Brother podcast, because you want it to be successful. You want to help people. When you do something wrong, somebody could go away and relapse or hurt themselves or hurt others. And that's the same with Fire and Peace, mate. I've got 100% skin in the game here. And sometimes most of the time it's a great thing. But sometimes you need to really step back and realise that not everybody else has got 100% skin in the game. So For me, the biggest challenges are accepting that not everybody has got the same devotion to fire and peace. So it's hard putting a team together, mate, and keeping that team together and making sure that they all fit into the right places, because we're not making cakes or making toys, we're dealing with people's lives. The team's getting solid. You know, if it's some great people come and go just through circumstances, I'm not going to get into great detail, but it is what it is, you know. Maybe one day they'll come back. I don't know. The door's always open. But solidifying the team, mate, and just getting people in, it's so crucial to get people into the right slot so they're not feeling under any pressure. I'm not putting them right out their comfort zone, although I like to push them a wee bit to obviously learn. You need to learn in this game. The only way you learn is by getting your hands dirty, getting in the trenches, so to speak. So the team at the moment is solid. We've got a great team, and I think the longer something goes on, the more solid the team becomes. It's a filtering process, you know. At the beginning, obviously, there's a lot of excitement, and you're talking about a lot of stuff, but it's not actually happening. But when things actually start to happen, Fire and Peace became a charity. With that becomes a huge amount of responsibility, you know. So when you start passing that responsibility on to some people, it's maybe just too much for them, or they're just not quite ready yet for it. So it's just getting the balance right, mate, which is hard. But I spoke to a guy the other day who runs a very successful business. He's a businessman all his life, and I was talking to him about what's your biggest challenges. Yeah, I said it's my team. You know, the team. It's just keep getting the team right for what we're dealing with. I said, what about you? He said, oh, I'm the same. I said, how long did it take you? He said, 20 years to get my team the way I want it. So I'm hoping it's not going to take me as long as that. But coming from somebody that's ran successful businesses all his life, the importance of the team is critical, you know. And as I say, as Fire and Peace grows, it's expanding, it's starting to, there's so many folk getting in touch with us. I will need help, because at the moment it's me pretty much doing everything, and obviously that's hard to sustain, you know. I need to look after myself. I think we're all guilty of neglecting ourselves, and then we become low well. So it's being aware of that, Ross, and being aware of it, but then doing something about it.
Yeah,
I mean, you just keep on going.
I think it's really important for MD who doesn't know anything about Fire and Peace that the staff, that the team, as you would call them, they're from a varied background. It's not all people who've been through addiction issues. It's not all people who've been through mental health issues. You've got a good mix of people there who can offer support in their own wee ways. So have you got a wee bit about the team, kind of what everyone's place in that, and what kind of backgrounds they come from?
No, that's a great point, Ross. Obviously, I've got two sort of teams. We've got the core team, right? Who it's people who are kind of, most of them have been in the trenches either with addiction or they've experienced mental health challenges. But there are a couple who are just coming, they're just grafters, you know. So they come, a core team member kind of comes on trips, but also does wee jobs out with a trip. So basically to help me, they'll have extra wee tasks that I can pass them and say, can you deal with that for me? Because I've got a lot on at the moment. And then I've got my volunteer team, who's a kind of pool of people that come and just help on trips. You know, come and help us make teas, coffees, set the place up, make it nice and tidy, do a bit of talking to the beneficiaries and all that, making them feel comfortable. So, mate, the team I've got, between us all, mate, we've got phenomenal experience. I mean, I've just brought a couple more on there, and their life experience and knowledge is priceless. Jai, I mean, you can't put salaries in. This is the thing about the third sector and this work we're in. You're just expected to either be a volunteer or to get paid minimum salary. When actually the truth is, you can't put a salary and a price on this stuff, because you can't go to any university in the world and learn it. You know, you've got to have been through the trenches. You've got to have been covered in all the mud and all the crap to get it, to make a difference to somebody else's life. And between all of us, mate, there's decades and decades of knowledge there around mental health, addiction, you know, just the traumas of life, childhood trauma, you know, dealing with just horrible, nasty situations in life, that between us all, I think we've got it. We'll never be perfect. It's not about being perfect. It's just about progress and making Fire and Peace progress and continue to progress until, I don't know, is there an end goal for Fire and Peace? There's no an ultimate goal. It's just to keep on progressing and learning all the time, Ross. Constantly learning. It'll always be a work in progress. It'll never be a finished project. And that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and obviously going back to yourself, coming away from Fire and Peace a wee bit, you've had some good life experiences yourself, mate. You spoke a wee bit about struggling with your mental health. What was that like for you? When did that kick in?
I was wanting to go to the next step. I was always wanting to push it, you know, always in daft bother, you know, always wanting to, I would always be the one that would get more drunk than anybody else, if you know what I mean. Going out at night and going into nightclubs and whatever, just always getting in. I enjoyed confrontation. I enjoyed it, and I would look for it. Mm-hmm. And that was escapism. That was fear. That's all through fear, and it's been vulnerable, you know. And you think, well, when I was a young person, I wasn't able to look after myself. I was just a young vulnerable boy. But now that I'm a grown man, I can look after myself, and I'm not going to let anybody do that to me again. And it turns out that there's a very small percentage of this world that's actually out to get you, if anybody really. But in your head, you know, it can be the whole world is against you, you know. So to get well again, as you know, you need to make yourself vulnerable again, and that's a really hard thing to do, especially when you get to, you know, I'm 52 now, but when I started the recovery, I was in my 40s. I wouldn't listen to anybody before that. It was just Gerry can do it on his own. We all know what happens under our own will. So it was up and down like a yo-yo, mate. You know, like a yo-yo. Some pretty scary times, mate. But I'm still here, and I make myself vulnerable. I don't knock down. I was trying to knock down the whole wall in one go, that big defence wall. But I had a great wee counsellor, wee Lou. And she said, you're trying to knock down the whole wall in one go. She said, you just remove brick by brick and have a wee look. Oh, that's all right, actually. That's no bad. I'll leave that brick out. And then slowly you take I don't like it, put that brick back in. That's all right. Let's take another brick. And it's slowly but surely you're reducing that defence wall. Make yourself vulnerable. And then we rebuild ourselves, mate. You know, for the bottom up again almost. And that's unfortunately, that's the road. It's not a short journey, you know. This stuff takes years, but it's a great journey. It's a challenging journey. And in the end, we become better people. It's as simple as that. And we understand the importance of giving back, because I believe that's what life is all about. It's about giving back. It's not just about me. You've got to give back to live a fruitful life.
You talk a wee bit about obviously the bother you get into when you were younger and going looking for that confrontation and that. I know from experience of coming and training with you now, you're leading by example to a lot of young guys and taking them for boxing lessons and kind of getting boys up to fighting standard, to be honest. I remember I was sparring with you once and caught you with one and you hit me with a wee reaction right in the nose, and that was enough for me, Gerry. I didn't ever want to get punched again in my life after that. But how's the boxing for your mental health, and obviously the guys that you come in who you must see growing rapidly from nervous to confidence?
Amazing, mate. I'm still recovering for that shot you hit me with at the back. I mean, the boxing is tremendous. We've got one of my really best mates, Colin Belshaw, great guy, runs Renfrewshire Boxing Club. Me and Colin have been pals for a long time. We used to spar back in the day. Colin's a great amateur record, and he's fully behind Fire and Peace. I'm a kid-on boxer, mate. Colin's a real boxer. But I love it. Been involved in it for a long, long time. You know, Colin's, he's so supportive of us. You know, we've got full access to Renfrewshire Boxing Club. He takes the group on a Tuesday. The boxing brings, because I know what it did for me, it's not just about using these, and it's about discipline, structure. It's what's up here, what's in here. You know, you can be a big, strong guy, but somebody bangs you in the nose. I don't want anything to do with this anymore, so that's all right. just keep coming training, keep the discipline and the structure coming, but you don't have to go in the spar anymore. You know, that's the real test. But the boxing is just phenomenal. We've got guys coming up further. As you know, I fought twice in 2019. Big Stuart Roy, big unit of a boy. But it was all about raising awareness for fire and peace, suicide awareness. And it raised a lot of awareness. It raised a lot of money straight into the fire and peace pot to continue running the trips. And then I thought, I wonder if anybody else would be interested in fighting. It's a great bucket list ticker and great for your fitness and confidence. So sure enough, man, we get a load of boys lined up. Get their first fights coming up on April the 15th. We're just waiting for that to be announced formally under the Ultimate Boxing Challenge, which is Colin's sort of organisation that he runs as well, or he's part of it. So we'll get a good load of boys from our organisation we work with called Men Matter Scotland. Fantastic organisation, a walk-in hub and drum chapel. Gregor and Fraser, the two boys that are at the helm all the time in there. Amazing boys, so inspirational to me. We've just formed this really strong relationship, Fire and Peace and Men Matter. I've met some amazing people in there. I'm based in there every Wednesday. Guys come in, we do one-to-ones with guys. Just help them in their path of recovery, get them on trips. And we've got the boxing linked up with Men Matter Scotland now, so it's Men Matter Scotland, Fire and Peace and Renfrewshire Boxing Club all coming together every Tuesday. Colin takes the group, I give Colin a hand. We've got pros in there, we've got Kevin McIntyre, ex-British welterweight champions in. Kevin comes in, sometimes gives a wee demo to the boys, you know, a wee bit of footwork, upper body movement, you know, and it's great. They get a right buzz out of that, you know. That was where we Cash Farouk was training out of. There's other pros that come in, so it's the whole buzz of the place is excellent for these guys to see. And they're getting fighting fit, you know. They've started their sparring, and it's going well, mate. The boxing's just a great. I'm trying to also do a bit of boxing at Cumbernauld Academy. They don't spar, don't even be allowed to spar, but I just get them moving, get the structure, discipline. And that's going really well. It's going well, mate. I'm trying to get boxing introduced into more places. As I say, it's not so much for that, it's for here and here.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I'll definitely need to get back over, Gerry. I was really enjoying it, but obviously, as you know, over the last year or so, my head's been up my arse at times.
I know, mate.
Starting to straighten out now, and the podcast, as much as it helps other people's, being a selfish addict, it's really helping me as well to get guys like yourself on. Mixing with celebrities like Cash Farouk and that's not the only celebrities you've rubbed shoulders with, Gerry. Will tell us a wee bit about your trip with Ray Mears, because I've seen pictures of this and I don't think that pictures do that justice, mate. So how about you give us a few wee words on your trip with him?
Well, as I said before, Ross, I've always been an outdoor fanatic, so always into my camping and in remote areas, you know, never camping sites, just away middle of forest and all that. And in this country, I felt as though, you know, I was, I'm going to say I'd obviously I taught myself all that I could, but I was wanting to go to the next level. So Ray Mears been one of my kind of boyhood heroes. I was always interested in the stuff he was doing. It was amazing. You know, here's this guy who can pretty much go anywhere in the world and survive. So I get a chance to go and see him at a conference and got chatting to him actually and said, what's the chances of getting on one of your expeditions? And he said, look, register, put your name online and fingers crossed, you know, you'll get to go on one. So that's what happened, mate. Got my name down in 2005 for an expedition into Arctic Sweden. Me and my good mate Michael. We get the last two spots, and the two of us went. So I had a pal there with me. It was a 15-man expedition with Ray Mears and Lars Felt. Lars is a legend. He trained the Swedish Army for like 40 years or something like that. You know, if there's one guy that can survive in the Arctic, it's Lars. So they were the expedition leaders in the Arctic Sweden. Just stunning, mate. Just untouched, as you can imagine. And the taiga, surrounded by the taiga forest on the Kalix River. At a wee kind of settlement called Lapiswando. That was the base camp. And then from there it was out every night, sleeping in different circumstances, different shelters, learning how to do things properly, you know. So, and And Ray was just a tremendous inspiration. Great guy, actually, very, very down to earth. No bullshit, you know, just normal for such a thing. But I did that with him, mate. It was just amazing. It inspired me so much. Came back here and just started putting into practice everything I had learned. And then the more you do it, the more you realise that I could try that with that and mixing things up, you know. So I've been doing that for so long. And now it's just passing all those skills on. You know, you take people into the forest in the pouring rain. You've got a bit of flint and steel and an axe and a knife and a saw, and you say, right, we're going to get a fire going. It's pouring the rain. People think, how can you make a fire in the rain? If you prepare right, it's not a problem, you know. And it's like camping in -10 in Scotland, ice and snow. As long as you prepare, it's anything in life for us. You prepare your recovery well, you'll recover well. Prepare your fire well, your fire will go well. It's all about preparation, mate. You know, you prep it, it'll work.
Yeah, so obviously you're bringing these skills to Fire and Peace, Gerry, so I know that Fire and Peace is all about connection and getting connected with nature. I thought I'd ask you a wee bit about the kind of youth of this generation. I know you're obviously a father to young kids, similar to myself, and I always worry about my wee girl's connection with nature because they spend their whole days with their head in an iPad or watching TV. I just wanted to get your thoughts on kind of the youth coming through and that connection barrier that they might have with nature.
Aye, no, you're good. It's a really good point, Ross. It really scares me as well, mate, the connection, because we're all a bit older in life, you know. We didn't have that technology, and well, we don't know the damage it's really doing to them. We can take a guess at it, but for me, it's damaging. It's really damaging, and the whole ethos of Fire and Peace is connection. Even though we're talking about youths, for adults as well, the power of connection's just going. You know, we're losing it. People have lost all connection, you know, and they're staying connected to all the material crap that's going on in the world. You know, the media, false propaganda, the fear, the ignorance, the arrogance, everything. But for the children, it's terrifying. What I'm finding with working with the youngsters in the schools and out with the schools is that the youths, they just don't understand. They don't understand. That's maybe no fair. There may be no grasping the power and the importance of connection, as in connection to Mother Nature, where we belong. As you say, mate, their heads are buried in an iPad or a phone. Studies are showing just what it's doing to their attention spans. You know, their attention spans from when we were younger, it's night and day. They're talking now, their attention spans are sometimes seconds on one thing because there's too much choice, you know. And we'll go into some of the schools before. If you were maybe a kind of quiet kid, you know, you'd kind of know where to hide. You maybe hide in a corner. But now, if you're a quiet kid, you've got the perfect excuse to go behind and you just pick your phone up and go straight on your phone. That's what I see a lot of schools. Kids standing on their own, buried in their phone. So the social skills, you know, how do you fix that? You know, you don't want to take their phone off them, but I think getting into schools, the phone should be removed. You know, you don't need it to survive, but it's frightening. We don't know the damage of this stuff. It's as simple as that. We're just scratching the surface. You give us another 10 years, and then you'll see the damage that's been done. We're going to be, and you've got the metaverse kicking off. You know, you don't need to leave your house anymore. You know, you can just do everything on the metaverse. And it's all about control, mate. It's all about controlling the masses, so that we don't get this connection. So we do lose it, so we become puppets. I'm doing my best to make sure my children get the balance, you know, getting back to, I've introduced them to camping at a very young age, so they've got that, you know, they've seen it, they've experienced it, they loved it, and they love getting back to it. At the same time, we've got these things here, right? So you can't deny them it, because, you know, they kind of need that as well, but you've got to say, that's enough. You've been on the iPad for whatever amount of time. I know some parents want an easy life, but to give yourself an easy life now, you're going to pay for it later on. You know, the kids they're not going to be able to communicate. They're not going to be able to talk. Again, the importance of connection, mate, and socialising, networking, the power of networking. You know, the network that we've got, and that's all through upbringing, being able to socialise and talk to people, and the support that gives you, the strength it gives you. But you've got children just now that are struggling through whatever reason. How are they ever going to build their social skills? You know, the schools are up against it as it is. To pick out one individual and really spend a lot of time with them. It's so hard for the schools. They're so under-resourced. Budgets, finance, everything. Aye.
So I suppose what after talking so much about Fire and Peace and the ethos, and I had Stevie McEwen on as my first ever guest, and we had a good chat about Fire and Peace and the benefits that we felt going. It's something that I speak to a lot of folk about, Gerry. I'm not just saying that because you've been good enough to come on the podcast today. Fire and Peace for me is a massive factor of recovery, and not just from my addiction, from the mental health issues. I still do the cold water I was introduced to at Fire and Peace up on the Inshriach estate, where Walter's very good to allow Fire and Peace to use his land, and myself and you going down the River Spey on with the current just lying back and then back at the campsite and stuff, mate. I've got some beautiful memories for Fire and Peace. So if somebody's listening to this podcast or watching, and they would like to get in touch, what is the kind of avenues for them to reach out, Gerry, and what's the kind of, I suppose criteria is the wrong word, but what kind of people would be welcome? Obviously everyone's welcomed on the trips, that's also the wrong word, that was a terrible word, but to come on the trips, what's the kind of expectations?
Well, you're right, mate, they would be welcomed on a trip, mate. No, that's a fine way to put it, Ross. Anybody who's struggling really, mate, you know, with but you know what this recovery program's like, Ross. I've spent time with so many people, I've invested time with so many people that say they want to get well, mate, and they don't, I'm going to say this, they don't try hard enough, you know, because I've been through the path so many times myself. You need to want this stuff 100%. You can't come into this thinking, I'll give it a go. You know, I was using last Wednesday, but I'm going to come on a trip on Friday and see how we go on. I don't entertain that. You know, you've got to have clean time under your belt. You've got to be trying. See, if I know you're trying, I'll try with you. If you get a good few weeks under your belt and you're determined, this time I'm really going to, and I always get a one-to-one with somebody that I've never met before they come on a trip. I'll get a one-to-one, see where their head's at, try and make sure I'm not getting the wool pulled over my eyes, which has happened before. But somebody who wants to get well, mate, and when you sit with somebody, you know, we've been through this too many times, Ross, we know when somebody does want to get well, you can just see it in them, you can hear it in their voice, you can see it in their eyes, you can feel the passion from them, and obviously we do people who've got mental health challenges. It's mainly, don't get me wrong, there's people there that need professional help, you know, and that's fine, but they need to bring like their sort of professional carer with them. Because like, Fire and Peace is not, we're not professional counsellors, professional psychiatrists. We're a complementary therapy to all the other organisations out there. We're not an alternative therapy. What we're saying is we're complementary to what you're doing, because there's no one fix to this. Okay, they can go through a professional treatment with NHS and the psychiatry and the counselling, but like we just said, they'll need more than that in the recovery. If you go and try and fix a car, you don't take one spanner. You know what I mean? You take a toolkit, and we're a lot more complex than a car, mate. You know, so we need a massive toolkit, and that's what Fire and Peace is. It's an additional tool in that person's recovery toolkit. Anybody who's listening to it can get in touch through the social media channels, the website. It's my number, the Fire and Peace number that's on there, so I will get back to you. We'll see where you're at. If you want to meet up for a coffee or a cup of tea or a bit of cake, I'm always for that. And And then we talk about the upcoming trip, when we can get you on a trip, what to expect from a trip, what to expect from yourself. Aye, mate, anybody who wants to get well, as I said, it's not about perfection. It's about progress. You know, it's about putting one step in front of the other. You put one step in front of the other with that compassion and you know, and drive and strength, then we'll all take the step with you. You know, you're not just walking on your own. You're sounding cheesy or patronising. You know, you've got a whole crew behind you. You know, and like when people realise that, I'm not on my own here. I've got an army behind me. That's, again, mate, that's priceless. You can't put a cost on that kind of thing. That's priceless.
And you use a word there, complimentary, and that's how I found it. I was at the time going to Cocaine Anonymous, and nothing I learned at Fire and Peace affected my recovery that way. I know people who are going through counselling who have came. It doesn't affect your counselling either. This is an addition. As you say it, you're here to work alongside professional support networks. But again, the reason for the pod, I say it every episode, Gerry, is 6 to 9 months waiting time for an NHS appointment. You guys are here, and you can maybe start building that connection and start building that recovery from whatever your issue is, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's PTSD, whether it's drugs, whether anything that is affecting you mentally. You guys will supplement the professional treatment that's coming. You're speaking a wee bit there about upcoming trips, and I'm lucky, very lucky in fact, that you've obviously invited me on the next trip. Really looking forward to going, mate, and I'm hoping when we get there, if any of the guys who are on the trip would like to maybe contribute, I'm going to put something together maybe for the podcast, whether it be a video or whether it be interviews or whether it just be footage of the trip, so that we can really promote Fire and Peace through this channel, mate, because it's probably been a major help to saving my life, to be honest. So what's the plans for 2022? What does it look like for Fire and Peace then?
So keep the funding coming in, Ross. This is I've said before, mate, the system is just so messed up. I mean, for us to try and help and save people's lives and make a difference to people's lives, not just a difference, mate, to make a loving difference, we need to try so hard to get funding. So hard to put we've still not got our own minibus. I mean, for us to get our own minibus, we change our whole dynamic. I can put stuff on during the week. I can run mystery day trips. Where are we going? We'll know when we get there. Just get on the minibus. And we'll drive up to Glen Douglas, wherever, up to Glencoe for the day. So we're quite close to getting a minibus. We've had funding from the Robertson Trust. God bless them for believing in us. They've gave us funding towards a minibus. I've got a private sponsor that gave us more money. And I'm hoping to get another wee bit together. So I'm hoping for our own minibus, a 17-seater by April or May this year, mate. I need a minibus. And any donations, man, will go straight towards this minibus. Means we can put on more boxing. Because at the moment, we've got a very kind sponsor that pays for our minibus hire every single month. The kindness of his heart. You know, he's not one for mentioning his name, so I won't mention his name. But every month he does that for us. Pull in the funding, mate. Get me some help. The reason I'm saying that is so that if I can get help, I can concentrate on what I should be doing, and that's making Fire and Peace grow and flourish. But at the moment, I'm keeping it tight because I'm concerned that it's growing too fast, and then I can't cope with the influx, and I don't want anybody slipping through the net. It's too dangerous. We're dealing with people's lives. So it's keeping it a tight ship, Ross, you know. Kicking off the Fire and Peace Youth. I'm not sure I'm going to call it yet. Maybe let them decide. The Fire and Peace Youth Movement, something like that. I'm really keen to work with the youngsters, the ones that I'm working with, and what I'm hearing is a real feeling of hopelessness out there amongst young people. There's no feeling of belonging. They don't feel as though they belong anywhere. There's no self-worth, mate. That they don't feel they're worth anything. I do a wee exercise with them when I get them in a group, and I'll ask them very simply, do you like yourself? No. Do you like yourself? No. 8 or 9 out of 10 will say no. One person will say, I like myself, aye. Take it a step further. Do you love yourself? No. You know, but there's a misconception around loving yourself. You know, people think it's one about your swagger. But, you know, to love yourself means that you can give a lot of love back. You know, so it's worrying that these young people don't feel they're worth anything. So if they don't feel they're worth anything, you know, how are they going to give back? You know, there's the Wayne Dyer's, there's an orange metaphor where you can't give what you don't have. Yeah. So if you don't have love in here for yourself, then you can't give love to anybody else. But if you love yourself, you can give some of that, you can give love. So it's getting young people to believe in themselves again, mate. Have confidence, realise that they're so valuable. They're the future of this. I'm not the future of Fire and Peace. I'm the founder. I founded it. And I hope Fire and Peace is here long after I'm gone. And it's getting into their head. You don't have to be an academic to have a great, successful life. You don't need that. I was terrible at school. You know, terrible. I was told to leave school by the headmaster because I was just a distraction for everybody else. So it's getting young people to realise that you just see if you get these life skills, if you start understanding the importance of connection, networking, manners, right? Don't watch your language. You know, there's young people think you can just cuss and swear in front of your teacher these days. I don't know. Imagine doing that in my school. Tear the belt, but it's changed days, mate. It's just the youth movement. Why wait till something breaks and then try and fix it? You know, you don't even know what you're trying to fix because it's so broken. So it's getting in, getting the message in, so they know that places like this exist. And when some things do go wrong for them, they can pick up the phone, they can send us a message. Can I get a chat? Aye, okay. What's going on? Let's not let it break. Let's maintain it. You know.
I've just had an overwhelming urge to mention something that happens on the trips. I don't want to give the game away for anyone who's excited listening to you and wants to come, but there's a task you do there, and you cut a bit of tree down, and everyone sits around the campfire, and you write a fear or whatever it is in this, like one of your fears or something that you want to overcome. You write on the log. Everyone passes the log around, and then it comes back round, and you look at your word and tell everybody why you wrote it. And I remember doing that exercise, Gerry, and the word I wrote was fear. I was scared of everything. See, when you took the drugs out of me, I was scared of life. Yeah. I was scared of going on a Fire and Peace trip in case nobody liked me. I was scared to go and ask my mum and dad for help because I thought I was letting them down. And then as it came back round to the other end, you said, right, we're going to burn that log now. And that's your... See that? It's a metaphor, obviously, but it's unbelievable, the freedom that gave me. And I just had the urge to thank you for that, mate, because it's something that's always stuck with me about the trip. So, again, for anyone listening in, these trips, some of the stuff you do like that's just one thing that we do on the trips. Life-changing.
It's great hearing things like this, Ross, because I run these trips, and then obviously I couldn't do it without the team I've got and without the beneficiaries that actually attend. And this whole thing is this Fire and Peace is you were saying earlier on, it's not a completely selfless act. You know, this is part of my recovery now. Fire and Peace is my recovery. So when you say things like that to me, I didn't even know that's the way you felt, how much freedom it gave you. That's just lifted my energy levels. That wee 2-minute statement you gave there. And when I come back from a trip, you know, I'm mentally and I'm physically tired, and that's okay. But spiritually, I'm up here. Yeah. I'm spiritually well, and that's the most important one for me. And then I get wee messages coming in, like in the Sunday there, everybody's back safe. Everybody's, you know, we're all back to the square world. We're back to normal civilization, and that can be hard for people. I'm coming back to a nice home, and I've got my family there waiting for me. These guys, I'm not saying they're all going back to a nice home, but they're all going back to an empty home. You know, so I'm a great believer in anchoring. You know, say, look, take a wee stone away from here. Find a nice stone, put it in your pocket, and then sit it in your mantelpiece. And when you're sitting there and you're thinking about whatever, have a wee look at that stone, take it and touch it, because that's part of where you were. And it can anchor your mind back, just like that, to where you were. So, and then I get wee messages coming in and again, and I'm feeling low, because I have my moments, Ross. You know, obviously, at a moment just, no, last weekend, the weekend before, out of nowhere, bang. It was my old head, just came back so strong, my old mindset. And now I've got this toolkit. Before it could last for days, you know, I just become reclusive. But now I can work my toolkit, and it can be gone sometimes in a matter of an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. But I know now it's going to go. Whereas before, I think, when is this going? So these wee statements you just made, the messages that I get, that's why I keep going. That's why I keep doing Fire and Peace, mate. Yeah, that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps my spiritual cup filling up. You know, that's what Fire and Peace is all about, mate. Give and take. It's all about giving back, mate. You know.
Just to finish us off, mate. That finishes us off nicely. Just if anybody's listening, anybody's struggling, anybody who's maybe watching, who's sitting in a dark place and doesn't know their next step, what would your advice be to the person sitting listening who's struggling?
You've got to, as hard as it is, mate, I speak to a lot, I do weekly one-to-ones, and I speak to some people that are just so empty, mate. And the hardest step, mate, the hardest step is walking over that door and admitting that you need help. You know, I sat for a long time doing this on Gerry's will, and I would last so long and then just fold again. We all need help, mate. None of us are superhuman. You've got to accept. It's acceptance, Ross. Acceptance is the key to recovery. You've got to accept that you need help. You've got to accept that being in your own, sitting in your chair with your curtains drawn, scared to leave the house doesn't work anymore. You know, you've proved it for years. This is where you've sat. You've got to accept you need help. And see if you get up and get off your chair and you take that first step through the door, you sit and you get a one-to-one with somebody, you're going to realise that you're not the only one that feels like that. Because I know at the beginning everybody thinks I'm the only one in the whole world that feels like this. Nobody else feels like this. I used to sit in meetings and go, nah, nobody else feels like me. I'm the worst. We all know that feeling. And then you realise, wait a minute here, that guy's, he read my mind? You know, because everybody's experienced it, just in different ways at different times. You know, so, and see if you don't like it. See if you don't like the new approach to life. You can always go back. But I guarantee once you've came through and experienced a new bit of the life, the journey that you're going to take, nobody is quite the same after that. You know, there is a shift, there is a change, but it's sustainment. It's sustaining the journey. It's baby steps. It's just one foot in front of the other. You don't have to leap and jump in feet first. You know, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It's baby steps. You know, and at the beginning we're all quite guilty of jumping in head. Yeah. Take your time, get surrounded by good people. You might have to break away from folk that you thought were your pals. You'll soon find out they're none of your pals. Get amongst real people. The connections I was saying earlier on, you need to make the strong connections, but not the strong wrong connections. Get all that away. It's acceptance, mate. You've got to put that one foot in front of the other. And I know how scary it is, how fearful it is. But you're not alone. You get on a trip, you come into Men Matter Scotland, meet us up at our office in Kirky, get a one-to-one, and that's you broke the ice. And things will be better from then on in. You know, there is a shift.
Beautiful, mate. Beautiful. Gerry, thanks very much for your time, mate. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
I just hope that people listening have got the courage now to reach out and see what can I help Fire and Peace along with all the other guests I've got can offer people who are struggling.
No, it's been great talking to you, Ross. I really look forward to seeing you on the next trip, mate. And by all means, bring your recording equipment. I'm sure everybody will be up for it, mate. If not everybody, then you'll certainly get a lot of good material, mate. That's the thing about a trip as well, is you're surrounded with people that are it's all integrity. All the lies have been told through the addiction, the addiction, whatever. There's no more bullshit. It's just pure integrity, love, compassion, strength, hope, self-worth. And you pick up on that. There's an energy that happens on trips. There's an energy there. And the guy next to you, the girl next to you, everybody wants to see you get well. Everybody wants the next person to get well again.
Yep.
And then we finish with the circle of unity, to show nobody's alone. But listen, I've maybe been on a wee bit longer than we anticipated here, but you started it.
Mate, it's been excellent getting to speak to you, mate. And I just finish up with, if anybody's watching or listening to the podcast who's enjoyed the material, just encourage people to like it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe on Spotify. You'll be notified that episodes coming, and it's all good content for folk like Gerry who are trying to make the world a better place. So Gerry, again, mate, thank you very much.
Andrew, Ross, I want to wish you all the best with this, mate. This just came out of the blue, this Other Brother podcast, and when I saw it, I was like, yes, go for it, mate. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Love it, mate. Love it.
Thank you very much, Gerry. I'll catch up with you at the trip, and
yes,
I look forward to being able to report back for the people who listen to the podcast on what we get up to.
Fantastic.
See you.
Great, Ross. Take care, brother.
Bye.
Thanks, mate.